Hello and welcome to the famous chess game series of Paul Morphy. Paul Morphy competed only in one tournament in his short career, the first American Chess Congress in 1857. In the final round of this knockout event, he defeated German master Louis Paulsen by a score of 5 wins, 2 draws, and 1 lose. In his short career, Paul Morphy played one of the most famous attacking chess games, and his positional play allowed him to win by sacrificing all of his pieces and checkmating opponent with only his last 2 pieces. So in this video, we will see top 4 games of Paul Morphy. In this game, Morphy is playing with black pieces. So white begins with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, knight c3. Here knight f6 was played, 4 knight variation, and now bishop to b5, bishop to c5, and both cleared castle. And here white captured knight on e5, rook to e8, and knight capture on c6, d capture back on c6, now bishop to c4, b5 attacking the white bishop, now bishop back to e2, now knight capture on e4, knight capture back on e4, now rook capture on e4, bishop f3 was played attacking the rook and the weak pawn on c6, rook to e6 defending the pawn. Now c3 was played in order to push d4 pawn attacking the black bishop on c5. Queen to d3 was played to prevent white from pushing d4 pawn, and it's a knight square for black queen. So white played b4, bishop to b6, a4, and now b capture on a4, queen capture on a4, and bishop d7, opening up file for rook to a2, and now rook a to e8. Paul Morphy has a strong central control and all of his pieces are activated on the king side. So here white played queen to a6 attacking the queen, but Paul Morphy decided not to capture and trade the queens, but instead he captured on f3, sacrificing queen for the bishop, g capture on f3, and now Morphy gives check by playing rook to g6. King to h1 is the only move. Now bishop to h3 attacking the rook, rook to d1, now bishop to g2 check, king to g1, and bishop capture on f3 check by the rook. Now king to f1, again bishop to g2 check, king to g1, and bishop back to h3, discover check by the rook. King to h1 is the fourth move. Now black capture f2, queen to f1, and bishop capture on the f1. Now rook capture back on f1, rook to e2 was played, defending the bishop on f2. So here white played rook to a1, rook to a6 was played, with the idea if bishop move back, black can checkmate white by playing rook to h2. So white played d4, and now whatever you do, you cannot stop black from checkmating white. So here white resigned. This was a wonderful positional play by Paul Morphy, sacrificing queen for the bishop and still winning the game. In olden times, the objective was to win the beautiful strokes, and fans often felt cheated when good defense frustrated a brilliancy. Morphy was the father of positional play, and his style was the antithesis of romanticism. Instead of going for the quick kill, he brought out all his pieces as rapidly as possible. So this game was played between Paul Morphy playing with black pieces and Henry Bird playing with white pieces in 1858. Henry Bird played e4, e5, knight f3, and d6. Henry played b4 and f5. Here white played knight c3 instead of capturing the pawn. Now Paul Morphy captured f on e4, knight capture back on e4, and d5 attacking the knight, knight to g3, and d4 attacking another knight. So knight to e5 was played. Now knight f6, bishop to g5 pinning the knight to the queen, bishop d6 attacking the knight. Here white played knight to h5, as this knight can be captured by the knight, it is pinned to the queen. So here black castled, adding additional defender to the knight on f6. Now queen d2 was played, supporting the bishop on g5. Queen to e8 was played, removing the pin by the bishop. So here white played g4, knight capture back on g4, and knight capture on g4, queen capture on h5, and knight to e5, knight to c6, and bishop to a2 attacking the queen. So queen to h3, not allowing white to short castle, knight capture on c6, b capture on c6, and now bishop to e3, defending the f2 pawn, rook to b8, white long castled. And here Paul Morphy played a brilliant move, rook to f2, sacrificing the rook and playing queen to a3. This was a brilliant move as queen can't be captured. If white captured queen, then he will be checkmated by playing bishop to a3, as this file is completely protected by the rook. So here white played c3, queen capture on a2, and now b4 was played, making some space for the king to move. Queen check on a1, king to c2, queen check again on a4, king to b2, and now sacrificing another piece, bishop capture on b4, c capture back on b4, and now rook capture on b4 check. White captured this rook by queen on b4, queen capture back on b4. Now king to c2 was played. White played e3, attacking the bishop and also opening the diagonal to check king by playing bishop to f5. Rook d3 was played, and now check on c4, king to d2. Now check again on a2, king to d1. As this rook can be captured by the bishop, but Morphy decided to give another check on b1. If king moves, this rook is captured for free. This rook can be captured anytime by the bishop. White have 4 pieces, but black have the queen. So here white resigned. So the next game was played between Paul Morphy and Adolf Henderson. Adolf Henderson was a school teacher, later professor of mathematics. 2 games were played in one day. This game and many others in the series give light to the myth that Henderson was interested only in attacks on the king. Here he answered a sharp assault on the Sicilian, repeated by Fischer more than a century later, with equal energy. The result is a violent miniature. In this game, Paul Morphy is playing with white pieces and Adolf Henderson is playing with black pieces. So Paul Morphy played e4, c5, Sicilian defense, and now d4. C capture on d4, and knight to f3 was played. Knight c6, now knight capture on d4, and now e6 was played. And knight to b5, d6, now white played bishop to f4 in order to capture the pawn on d6. e5 was played, bishop to e3, f5 was played, and now knight to c3, f4 attacking the bishop, and instead of moving bishop away, white played knight to d5 with the idea of forking king and the rook on c7. So here black capture, bishop on e3, knight to c7 check, king to f7, and instead of capturing the pawn or the rook, Paul Morphy decided to give check by playing queen f3. Here Morphy had a chance to win the entire piece, but he decided to develop all his pieces first. So knight to f6 was played, and here Morphy decided to play bishop to c4, preparing another discover check. Knight to d4 was played, attacking the queen, and here knight capture, knight on f6, discover check by the bishop. d5 and bishop capture on d5. King to g6 was played. This was not an Indian recommended move. Instead, king to e7 was a better move, but this gave opportunity to play queen to s5 check, king capture on f6, and now f capture on e3, knight capture on c2, forking king and the rook, and king to e2. Here black have many opportunities. He can capture the knight on c7, he can capture the rook, he can move his king away, he can attack the rook, queen by playing pawn to g6, but the best was to resign, as Adolf Henderson resigned in this position, because he cannot do much. Later, rook to f3, rook to f1 was coming. You have to move king e7, as all of white pieces are mostly active, and rook can come anytime into the game, and all the black pieces are still on the same position, undeveloped, and he is ready for the next game. So waiting for the Adolf Henderson for the second game, Paul Morphy decided to play with another player, and this was the amazing game as he sacrificed all of his pieces. And in this game, Paul Morphy is playing with white pieces and played e4, e5, knight f3, d6 and d4, opening up the center, bishop to g4 and pawn capture on e5, bishop capture on f3, queen capture back on f3 and d capture on e5. And now white played bishop to c4, preparing checkmate on f7, but here black played knight to f6, preventing checkmate on f7. Now white played queen to b3, preparing check by the bishop on f7 followed by queen e6 checkmate. So here black played queen to e7, preventing the checkmate, and now white played knight c3, defending the pawn on e4. c6 was played, bishop to g5, pinning the knight to the queen. b5 was played, attacking the white bishop. So instead of moving away the bishop, Paul Morphy decided to sacrifice his pieces. As he loved to sacrifice his pieces, so Paul Morphy captured b5 with his knight, c captured back on b5, and now bishop capture on b5 with a check. Knight to d7, stopping the checkmate, and here white castled. Now rook on the d rank is also attacking the knight. So here black played rook to d8, and here rook to d7, capturing the knight by the rook and sacrificing the trade. So rook captured back on d7, and now instead of capturing with the bishop, Paul Morphy decided to play rook to d1. Queen e6 was played, so if rook capture on or knight capture on d7, knight f6 can capture back on d7. But here Paul Morphy was not satisfied after sacrificing his whole piece, Instead, he sacrificed his whole queen by playing queen to b8 check, knight capture on b8, but rook to d8 checkmate. A beautiful checkmate by queen sacrifice, as this was the forced move. So that's why grandmasters say king safety is number one in the chess. Without king safety, you cannot win more games. King is the most important piece. So this was another beautiful chess game by Paul Morphy, as he keeps on attacking and attacking black without giving him a chance to even breathe in the game. So these games are one of the most attacking piece sacrificing game by Paul Morphy. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Please like and subscribe the channel for more videos and famous game, even of Paul Morphy, Bobby Fischer, and legends like Mikhail Tal. Thanks for watching.